What's going on, guys? I'm Tyler, and in continuing my series of Disney movie reviews, I'm here to let you know that The Rescuers Down Under is no perfect movie. So, in this film, a boy named Cody living in Australia who can talk to animals is captured by this poacher played by George C. Scott because he knows the location of this rare and almost extinct golden eagle. So, word gets out to Bianca and Bernard, who are still part of the Rescue Aid Society, and they travel to Australia to help him with the assistance of Orville's brother, Wilbur, played by John Candy. I saw this one, as I stated in the previous video, a lot more than the first Rescuers. Weirdly enough, in school, it was always either The Sword in the Stone or The Rescuers Down Under, but both were pretty good. This one was even better. This is the one movie in the Disney Renaissance that A, was not a musical, B, did not have Phil Collins songs to drive the plot forward, and Free, unfortunately, was the only one that wasn't a box office success because actually, yeah, I'm not entirely sure why. If it's just because it wasn't a musical, there are plenty of good Disney movies that aren't. But, it's a shame because even though it has a few of the same problems, it has so much more that improves upon the first one, mainly the animation. And I was fine with the animation. I liked the sketchy design that Disney did for the first few decades, but not only are the designs so much more polished, not only are the colors much more beautiful, but the scale is massive, not just for the mice, but really for everyone. And it raises the stakes significantly. Whenever there's an action scene, whenever someone is flying in the sky, the camera moves along with the characters, and that sense of motion is breathtaking. And I gotta say, this movie also took more advantage of the mice's size whenever there was an action scene. So you really felt as if, like, they could get out of a tricky situation just like that, but because they were small, it also meant that they were a little more expendable. And I also liked the dynamic between Bernard and Bianca a little bit more, but even though it is a little annoying that the majority of the movie, Bernard is trying to propose to Bianca, and when they're on this journey, there's this other mouse who tags along who's really giving the impression that he's trying to steal her, which, you can make plenty of jokes about that. And unfortunately, Bianca is more of the moral support as opposed to really doing anything physical, even though there are a couple opportunities where she could have. At the very least, I understood how much Bianca's guidance really meant to Bernard because there comes a point where he is all by himself and he has to decide what to do and what's the right strategy without her. And it did make me realize how important of a character she was to him, and I felt the relationship much more significantly than the first time around. I still kind of wish she could have done one or two things because she technically does less in this one, but it doesn't change the fact that she's still, at the very least, a likable character, and nonetheless, the things that they fixed were improvements. John Candy as Wilbur gets to do a lot more in this one, and because it's John Candy, I was so excited to see that, and he did not disappoint. It was kind of like Cheech Marin and Oliver and Company, where even though he doesn't get the most ingenious material ever, his timing and delivery has so much passion and energy that he sells every scene that he was in. He was hilarious. I'm so glad they gave this character so much more to do than Orville in the first one. I'm still kind of confused why they didn't really take advantage of Orville that much, but you know what? It was that guy's first movie out of retirement. I guess there was kind of an excuse there. But we also get to spend more time with the kid in this film and the dangerous situation that he's in. You really believe the stakes that he's facing because of this really sinister villain. George C. Scott is slimy as hell as McLeach, and he's actually a lot more cunning and manipulative than I remembered as a kid. And speaking of, the kid himself is pretty likable and useful when he needs to be. The first 10 minutes, we see him using his ability to talk to animals in order to free them from poachers' traps, but he's not invincible either. He can be afraid, he can slip and fall, and he can shoot his mouth off when he shouldn't. And even though on paper that does sound kind of annoying, this kid sounds so genuine and believable, even though half the time he's doing stuff that really only makes sense in cartoon logic. There's not much else I can really say about The Rescuers Down Under other than, even though it does kind of have some of the same flaws, the improvements are more than worth it. The animation is much more beautiful. The action scenes have much more intensity to it, so much so that I think it actually scared people off when it first came out, and I can kind of understand that, but at the same time, in the first film, you had people shooting guns and it was played up for slapstick. In this one, it's actually legitimately serious. McLeach pulls the kid out of a trap with a shotgun barrel. Like, it's done in such a subtle way that you actually kind of have to look twice to even realize that. I got off track from my conclusion there for a second, but The Rescuers Down Under was a significant improvement on the animation, the action, the villain, and the characters. And for all those reasons, I'm going to give The Rescuers Down Under a 4 out of 5. Guys, thanks as always for watching. If you have seen Rescuers Down Under, please let me know in the comments below what you thought of it. Which one did you like better, Rescuers or Down Under? Be sure to let me know, be sure to stay tuned for other Disney reviews, and be sure to like and subscribe. Take care.